Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. You can post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @Pless. I have several announcements. First of all, the Bookmap Trading Companion Competition continues. I'll have a couple websites you can take a look at in just a couple of minutes. So the Trading Companion Competition continues through the end of the month, through September 30th. Next announcement is the Bruce's Pilot Program. I'll have a website that you can take a look at as well. If you're interested in building a trading edge, this should help you out. And then finally, Bookmap has a Pro Trader webinar series going on this week. It actually began this morning and it continues all week. And you can find out more about that in Discord. So go to Bookmap Discord and you should be able to find that information. All right, here are the key tenets to my approach of trading. This is the basis of my approach of trading. And for those of you who've seen my webinars before, please bear with me. I want to make sure that everyone understands my basis. It's a different approach to trading. I believe that options traders and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That certainly applies to large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent Seven stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. SPY is the much more liquid ETF version of that index. And the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and the hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index. And the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading. The first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow at Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the asset as well as the way you like to trade. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions or comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Here's my agenda for today, Monday, September 22nd. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events for today as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. And then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's get started with, I want to wrap up the announcements, then we'll get to news. First of all, again, the Bookmap Trading Companion Competition continues. You can go to this website for more information. It ends 30th of September, and you can win select prizes, 1 month Global Plus, and a spot in the Bookmap Pets calendar. And then also Bruce's pilot program. You can find more information here. Step-by-step process, building a trading edge, plenty of positive testimonial from traders. And then finally, the Pro Trader webinar series. You can find out more in Bookmap Discord. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at news items now. There was a late breaking news item today regarding NVIDIA. I'll talk about that in just a minute. So let's talk about this week first. So today, not a lot other than this late breaking news regarding NVIDIA and OpenAI, but there have been quite a few Fed speakers this week, today as well as the rest of the week. And then tomorrow, and what I'm looking at here is the Spotgamma dashboard home screen. The events calendar here. All right, tomorrow, 9:45 a.m., S&P Global PMI data comes out, and then at 12:35 p.m. Eastern Time, Jerome Powell will be speaking, and then Micron reports earnings after the market closes. And then on Thursday, GDP and durable goods data reports come out. That's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Also jobless claims. And then on Friday, the big data release of the week, PCE data at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, again on Friday morning. And then Michigan consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. All right, so that's news. Fairly light with most significant data on Thursday and Friday. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at the market now. And so the news that came out, I'll get to that when we talk about stocks. Again, late breaking news that came out just right after noon regarding NVIDIA and OpenAI. All right, so let's move on to positional analysis. And this is the S&P 500 futures, ES futures and Bookmap. And it's been a rally from the opening. It actually began before the opening. So this is the ES futures and Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to step back, take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to, let's go to SPX. Go to the underlying index, that's SPX. This is a 1 day, 1 year chart. Again, SPX, the underlying index for the S&P 500. And you can see the rally that began in April. April lows right around 4,800 continues. And then also the rally that began at the end of the beginning of September, beginning of this month, still continues. All right, let's take a look now at a 30-day, 1 hour chart. Again, Thinkorswim. Rally began September 2nd, continues. Nice uptrend channel. Note last week, SPX found resistance at the 6650 level, and that was the call wall last week. And then on Friday, SPX broke up above that level and then tested that level this morning and now continues higher up toward the 6,700 call wall. That's the next level on site. All right, let's take a closer look at those levels. First of all, the expected moves. Dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. And then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, again, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels do update every day, and I do post those levels for SPX, ES, and NQ in Bookmap Discord every day the evening before. All right, so next level in sight is the 6700 call wall. All right, so let's talk more about the Spotgamma levels. And by the way, last Friday was options expiration. And last week I did talk about potential consolidation or reversal after, excuse me, after expiration. That is not happening. It's if expiration did not occur. The rally continues. And that was kind of evident on Friday as a lot of levels already rolled higher. So traders were already positioning themselves for the next month. For example, they're on the SPX, bullish hat trick, and then on SPY, all four key daily levels rolled higher, and that continued today. All right, so let's talk about these key daily levels. They're shown with the dark red lines. They're based on gamma-weighted open interest. They're provided to Spotgamma subscribers. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, the absolute gamma strike is now back down to 6,000. Which is kind of odd. It had moved up and seemed to be pretty firmly up at right around 6,600 last week, down to 6,000 today. And typically it does take 2 or 3 days after expiration for the levels to stabilize. All right, so absolute gamma strike down to 6,000, so that's kind of the exception. Next level up is the put wall at 6,400. So the absolute gamma strike is the strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. So that's where most of the absolute gamma is concentrated. Well out of play. Next level up, put wall at 6,400. That's a strike with large net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And right around that level was the launching point. Actually right around 63.60 launching point for the rally that began at the beginning of September. All right, next level up is the volatility trigger at 66.20. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. This is based on Spotgamma's older total open interest model, and we'll take a look at gamma based on their newer synthetic open interest model in just a couple of minutes. That level did move up from Friday. And then finally, again, the call wall now moved up to 6,700. That's a strike with large net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. And that level is, of course, the next major level in sight for SPX. And let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. This shows data beginning last Wednesday. Chop after FOMC. Gap up the next day. A couple days of consolidation. Then there's that 6650 level that I mentioned before, acting as resistance. That was the call wall last week. Then support again today. So SPX came down, tested that level this morning. That's now a large gamma 4 level. And it's been pretty much straight up since testing that 6650 level. And now SPX heading up toward the upper daily expected move. All right, so the key here is the break above 66.50 and the shifts higher in levels. Let's take a quick look at SPY. The other underlying index. Zoom in on this a bit. So SPY trading up above the last Spotgamma level, I believe. One of the last, that combo 3 level, 666.23. Maybe another level above that. Yeah, there is. Another combo level up above. All right, SPY trading well above its volatility trigger at 662. And that level did increase from Friday. So for SPY, just like the SPX, the volatility trigger call wall shifted higher. So the call wall is still up at 670. And then the absolute gamma strike shifted lower, down to 660. So overall, for the S&P 500, bullish shifts higher in levels. Launching point for the rally this morning, SPY 662. Volatility trigger, that's also the 0 gamma level. And the S&P 500 did have some trouble breaking above the 66.75 resistance. And then finally, just afternoon, did break above that level. Of course, I think supported by the NVIDIA news. Now, ES is also heading right up to its upper daily expected move. And the 6,700 call wall looms right above. All right, rally continues. 6,700 just up above. And then also the expected moves for ES and SPX. And we'll take a look at setups in just a minute. And it's pretty much been go from the open. All right, note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. With rollover last week, that ES to SPX offset expanded substantially. And today it's somewhere between 57 and 58. So I'm showing, and I'm using 58. So I'm showing SPX 6,700 at ES 67.58. 6,700 at 67.58. And I do post all the index relationships that I use every day in Discord and the Options-Jug chat channel. All right, that's S&P 500. We'll take a look. S&P 500. We'll take a look at setups in just a couple of minutes. Let's move on to NASDAQ. Very similar picture. Let's take a quick look at the underlying indexes, QQQ and NDX. Then we'll get back to the chart here for NASDAQ, NQ futures. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ trading above its call wall. A little bit of consolidation there. And that was that's the highest Spotgamma level for QQQ. That's the absolute gamma strike in the call wall. All right, let's take a look at NDX, the other index component. All right, down below this combo level, combo 1, acted as support for the afternoon launch, actually about 11:30. So NDX continues to move higher. And note there was an NDX level in play this morning. That is the 24,525 absolute gamma strike call wall. Around that level, acting as support before the cash open. Rally really began right around 8:30. Bumped into the QQQ 600 absolute gamma strike call wall, and then launched again with the NVIDIA news. And note the NASDAQ upper daily expected move is still up above. So I'm showing key NQ levels as well as QQQ and NDX levels on this chart. Again, there's a set of index relationships I use every day to show those levels. And again, I do post those in Discord. All right, so we'll talk about setups in just a couple minutes. Let's wrap up our view, our positional analysis by taking a look at Gamma. So we'll go to the Trace tool. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. This is the Gamma heat map. And what this is showing is Gamma, positive Gamma with blue shading. Red shading shows negative Gamma. So you can see there's positive Gamma up above and concentrated. Next strike up at 6,700. And that is a 99 percentile strike. And again, that's the obvious target. Let's step back in time. We'll go back to, let's say, right around 10 a.m. All right, so the first obvious target was the 6670 strike. This is the blue bars, again, showing positive Gamma. And what often happens is price will seek these high positive Gamma nodes, 99 percentile strikes. Hello, Mark. Welcome. Glad you're here. So as rally continued, Gamma at that strike began to disappear. And the more Gamma strikes up above, rally continues. Now, currently, the key, the most important Gamma strike here, the 99 percentile strike, is 6,700. As the seek and destroy algo continues to push S&P 500, SPX higher. All right, so again, blue shading, positive Gamma. So SPX is in a zone of very positive Gamma. And in this case, typically, you're not looking for much movement, lower volatility and positive Gamma. Also, this stability index is quite high at 98%. All right, so let's move on. So based on this, I was looking for slower movement. That's not necessarily the case today, but that's what this positive Gamma would indicate, and a grind higher. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some setups now. And I'm going to start with the S&P 500, and as always, start by taking a look at what options traders have been doing today. And hello, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm sorry, Akil. Welcome, glad you're here. All right, so again, we're moving on now to execution, to real time. And again, starting by taking a look at what options traders have been doing. This is the HIRO signal, Hedging Impact Real-Time Options, HIRO. It's available to Spotgamma subscribers. And this is the S&P 500 Index HIRO signal. So what this chart is showing, the white line is showing price, the purple line is showing the HIRO signal. And it's showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the S&P 500 index components, two of which we've already looked at. That's SPY and SPX, the other two ES and XSP. Again, white line price, A rising hero signal indicates traders are taking positive delta options positions. The direction of line indicates options delta. So this indicates traders are buying calls and or selling puts. And then a falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta options positions. They are buying puts and or selling calls. All right, so you can see a couple of major swings here. Bullish from the open up until about 11, then a pullback, and then NVIDIA news comes out, and now hero is pretty much flat. Let's separate out puts and calls. All right, so it looks like call buyers primarily driving price, and this I'm going to have to jump. I'll jump back to avoid the auto zoom. All right, so the orange line shows calls, blue line shows puts. Both are showing positive delta. So traders are buying calls. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to, in this case, buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. They're also selling puts, but it's clearly the call buyers driving price. Delta notional, extremely large, especially for this time of day, at 8.75 billion. That's extremely large. Traders are very bullish, buying calls. And it's been up from the open. Just go from the open, buy calls, buy calls. And hello, Augustine. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, so that's the S&P 500 index components. Traders aggressively buying calls. Again, when traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. All right, there's another signal that we can take a look at for the S&P 500. That's the S&P 500 equity signal. So this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. Similar picture here. Traders buying calls from the open, and price continues to move higher. Looks like now traders have taken the foot off the gas. All right, so that's the S&P 500, both the index and hero, the equity signal. Let's go take a look at Bookmap now. We'll go back to ES. Zoom in just a bit. Rally really began right around 9 a.m. You can see all the green volume dots. So the volume dots of Bookmap show market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Magenta dots, more sellers than buyers. So you can see the cumulative volume delta rising. That's the magenta dark blue line. Up until about 11 a.m., it drops pretty sharply. Starts up again around noon, and now slowing down again. So that's the cumulative volume delta. Aggressive buyers. Let me tone those down just a little bit. Whoops. And also in the subchart, sell stop orders have been fueling this, buy stop orders, rising yellow line, buy stop orders fueling this move higher. And then also note the iceberg line here, the light blue. Looks like it is pretty much almost neutral for the day, but now starting to move higher. This shows large traders are following this move. They are buying strength in this case with iceberg orders they use to hide their size. All right, so it looks like the options traders and buy stop orders fueling this move higher. And now ES running into a little bit of difficulty here just below the upper daily expected move. All right, so big rally. Few pullback entries. just after the cash open. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Pretty much up from the open. Let's take a look at NASDAQ now. Pretty similar story. Rally began for NASDAQ right around 8:30. Again, support at the NDX, 24,525, absolute gamma strike call wall. A little bit of consolidation at the 600, QQQ 600, absolute gamma strike call wall. And then rally continued. And cumulative volume delta much more clear. That's the magenta to dark blue line. Also buy stop orders. Now in this case of NASDAQ, large traders are fading this move. This is more typical behavior. They're selling strength. All right, let's take a look at Hero and see what options traders have been doing at NASDAQ. All right, so I have puts and calls separated. Let's take a look. There are two signals that we can take a look at for NASDAQ, just like the S&P 500. There's the index signal, which shows options trades and market maker hedging activity. For the index components that we've already taken a look at, that's QQQ and NDX. And this is showing traders buying calls and selling puts. And the white line is price for NDX. So traders buying calls, selling puts, and then the swings are pretty clear. And again now, traders have taken the foot off the gas and price is consolidating. All right, there's one other signal we can take a look at for NASDAQ. That's this MAG 7 signal. So this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Tesla. And we'll take a look at several of those stocks. So traders buying calls, and actually in the case of the MAG 7, they're selling puts. That's shown buying calls, shown by the rising orange line, positive delta notional. And then for MAG 7, they're actually buying puts. That's shown by the negative delta notional there. So they started buying puts around 11:30. All right, so we've already taken a look at NASDAQ here. NASDAQ has rallied from somewhere between 24,750 and 800 up to 25,000 now. All right, any questions about the indexes? Rally in the futures began before the open, and options, the call buyers, put sellers came in just at the open, and the rally continued higher. And that's the story for the indexes. Big pause 11 a.m. to 12, and then rally now has paused again. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. And I'm going to go through several stocks here. So Apple was pretty strong last week and continues today. You can see all the green volume dots. There are a lot of aggressive buyers in Apple. Rising cumulative volume delta. Let's see what options traders have been doing in Apple. So let's go back to Hero. Take a look at Apple. Apple, this is a bullish opening drive, just like the indexes. Flow alert comes in just after the cash open, signals significant options activity. And when a flow alert like this comes in just after the open, I'm looking for continuation. So there was a little bit of a chop, as Apple encountered the 250 call wall key gamma strike, broke above that level, and then call buyers took their foot off the gas as well as put sellers right around 12:30. So this is kind of a call exhaustion, call peak pattern. So the ways to play this is a very typical pattern. First of all, get in, get long on the opening drive, multiple pullback entries, and then best approach here is just to buy a put spread or sell a call spread or just exit your position. Don't necessarily want to buy a put or sell shares here unless you're exiting your long. So get long and then buy a put spread, sell a call spread. All you're doing there is saying, I don't think price is going any higher than this level. All right, so Apple consolidating after the bullish opening drive. Note the break above the 250 call wall key gamma strike. A little bit of consolidation between 250 and 251. Final test of the 250 level. Price moves higher. Next target up above is the 255 level. That high liquidity, those are limit sell orders in the order book. Act as a magnet for price. Then again at the next big round number level, consolidation between 255, 256. All right, so that's Apple. Strong day today, bullish opening drive, then consolidation. All right, next level, next stock, Meta. And a little bit different story in Meta today. We'll take a look at the hero pattern in just a minute. Pretty choppy, but Meta found resistance at the 785 level this morning and now continues to move lower. And let's see what options traders are doing. We'll go to Meta. And the reason I wanted to show this is the nice call peak pattern. This is a very reliable reversal pattern. So you can see in contrast to Apple, which was more call exhaustion, this is clearly a call peak reversal pattern. And then also bearish momentum as right around 11, traders started, continued to sell calls, started buying puts, and Meta's moving lower, broke below the 772.50 hedge wall and down toward the 770 put wall. All right, so that's Meta, call peak pattern. And again, that's a very reliable reversal pattern. So there was a brief bullish opening drive, pretty choppy, price action, call peak pattern, and then now bearish momentum. So those are the patterns. All right, back to Bookmap. All right, so that's Meta. Let's take a look at NVIDIA now. NVIDIA was pretty choppy in the morning, choppy in a range, very narrow range between 175 and 176. And then this is when the news came out. You can see all the green volume dots, aggressive buyers. So let's see what options traders are doing. Go to NVIDIA. So you can see flat line until the news broke. Call buyers jumped in on the action. Flow alert comes in. Aggressive call buying for around an hour, a little bit less. Then they've taken the foot off the gas and NVIDIA is consolidating. Note it did break above the 180 call wall key gamma strike. All right, let's take a look. Back to Bookmap. There's the 180 call wall key gamma strike. So that's a call wall breach. So the call wall, traders are long calls typically. Market makers are short calls. So when price breaks up above that level, market makers' delta becomes more negative and they have to continue to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So again, for about an hour, very strong reaction to the news. Now consolidation as the call buyers have taken the foot off the gas. All right, next stock, Tesla. Tesla earlier today was quite strong. Rally has been going on excuse me. Tesla's been pretty strong for quite a while, or several days. So let's see what options traders have been doing. Looks like they may be taking profits now in Tesla. So bullish opening drive, a couple of call peak patterns, full alert signals significant options activity. And again, call peak patterns. Initial response was call exhaustion, consolidation. Then starting just after noon, traders started selling calls more aggressively for a few minutes, but really buying puts. And price moved lower. So again, ways to play this. Get long. Then either when these call peak patterns start to form, exit your long, or look to sell a call spread or buy a put spread, saying, I don't think price is going to get above this level. All right, back to Bookmap. All right, so Tesla back to around the opening print, right around 430. All right, last stock I wanted to take a look at is AMD. It was strong this morning. Now, chop and consolidation. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to AMD. This is a very nice bullish opening drive. Aggressive call buyers. Price breaks above the 160 key gamma strike. And really the call buying continues. Kind of longer than normal, but they finally took the foot off the gas right around 12:10. So the fuel that had been driving AMD higher shut off right around 12:10, and now AMD consolidating. Looks like it's back down to the 160 key gamma strike. All right, so call buyers, and again, pattern, bullish opening drive. Look for pullbacks to get long, then watch for the call peak patterns to either exit your long or sell a call spread, buy a put spread. All right, Floki says, welcome, glad you're here. This GC parabolic move is serious. I can't take a look at GC here. We can take a look at GLD. All right, so there's the gold ETF. A lot of flow alerts, traders buying calls. All right, so that's GLD. All right, any questions so far? Anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, let's go back. Let's take a look at the indexes. Let's go back to the S&P 500. So it looks like now traders may be starting to buy calls again. SPX trading up above the Spotgamma implied one-day move high. Note that is based on the opening price for SPX. The expected moves that I use are the more traditional, based on the closing price from the previous day. And again, the 6,700 call wall, high positive gamma, looms just above. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go back to ES. Zoom in on this. All right, so it looks like ES found support at the 666, kind of ominous SPY level. Now moving higher. And again, 6,700 up above. And the expected move for ES and SPX. Let's check in on NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ continues to grind higher. Aggressive buyers coming in. Again, upper daily expected move just above. Let's go back to Hero. All right, so that's the S&P 500 index signal. Call buyers, huge number, 8.65 billion, 8.75 billion. And the equities contributing to that as well at 2.63 billion call buyers. And call buyers and put sellers, the NASDAQ. And mainly call buyers driving the Mag 7. So by the way, this S&P equities is the Mag 7 plus 493. All right, again, any questions? Anyone have any stocks that we want me to take a look at? Let's take a look at one other stock. Oracle, also strong. There was a little bit of a consolidation after the very bullish reaction to earnings, and now it looks like Oracle may be starting to move higher. Call buyers coming in. And Oracle now trading above its 320 call wall. So another strong stock today. All right, back to Bookmap. Let's go back to the index. Let's check trace. Zoom in. All right, positive gamma up above. 6,700 strikes, still 99 percentile. Obvious target for today. So this is the gamma heat map. Again, blue, positive gamma, looking for lower volatility. Let's check delta pressure. So delta pressure is showing red, selling pressure up above. This is typical in positive gamma. And blue, buying support below. In somewhat of a neutral zone now. Let's check charm pressure. So it looks like SPX is in somewhat of a neutral zone, but there is red selling pressure due to time decay just above. And actually down below the 6,700 call wall level. And I don't see any strong potential pinning targets that would be likely. Maybe right here, 6690 below the 6,700 level. So what I'm looking for is blue buying support below, red selling pressure above, another level in case price reverses pretty sharply at the 66.70 level. So that would be about 20 points lower. All right, back to Gamma. Back to Hero. S&P 500 still pretty much consolidating. Back to ES. So still chopping at a pretty narrow range with expected moves and a lot of positive gamma up just above. Again, anyone have any questions? Any stocks you want me to take a look at? Yeah, let's check. Let's go back to Hero. I'm going to shift to the total signal. And let's check some stocks that have been very strong last week. All right, quantum computing stocks, very strong. Looks like kind of a, this is IonQ. Pretty strong today, finding support at the 67 call wall key gamma strike, rallying. Hero signal slightly negative. Quantum computing, let me check, see what else is moving. All right, so let's check one other quantum stock. Moving higher, but mixed picture with Hero. And also nuclear stocks, very strong last week. Check Oklo. Continues to move higher. Support at the 125 key gamma strike. A little bit more clear picture with Hero here. Traders taking positive delta options positions. And Laughing Stock, welcome, glad you're here. And Laughing Stock asks, won't the real-time hedging flow show up on Bookmap as market and limit orders anyway? Any reason we need to check the Hero indicator for that? So I'm not sure that all the orders, all the market makers' orders are showing up on Bookmap or not. But I like to watch Hero. I think it can often give me a leading indicator and at least a confirmation of what traders are doing. It's just another picture of what traders are doing and what's driving price. So on futures, let's go. So it's most likely that these, excuse me, market makers' orders are showing up on Bookmap. not necessarily for stocks. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at, let's go back to Tesla. So what Tesla's showing. So for futures, Bookmap data is showing CME data, just like Rhythmic, DXFeed, CME data. So market makers most likely would be trading on CME as well for futures. On the other hand, for stocks, this DXFeed is showing NASDAQ and EDGX, but for stocks there are plenty of other exchanges not included with DXFeed, like NYSE, ARCA, if they're even trading on an exchange. Augustine wants to take a look at SAIA. Not familiar with that stock. I don't have it in a Bookmap. Let's take a look in Hero. I doubt it's available. I'm not. No, it's not there. So there are a limited number of stocks available in Hero, mainly stocks that have been proven to be heavily driven by options trades. So sorry, Augustine, that stock is not in Hero. All right, indexes continue to chop, slightly upward bias. This be equities, NASDAQ. NASDAQ signal starting to move higher. Looks like NASDAQ is a little bit stronger than the S&P 500. Yeah, it's making new highs, whereas ES still stuck in a range. Right back to ES. Check trace again. 6,700. 99 percentile strike still looming up above. Looks like the gamma is starting to move lower. Actually moving higher. Well, higher and lower. So 60 minutes ago, 61 million. 30 minutes ago, 102, 103 million. Now 83 million. It's the gamma exposure. And that would certainly be my target for the day. In the slow grind higher, there's still 90 minutes in the regular trading session. So two main moves today, 9:30, or really 9 a.m. to 11, and then 12 to 1. Then long periods of consolidation in between. So the question now is, does the S&P 500 make it up to 6,700 today or later on in the week? All right, remember there is data coming out tomorrow. 9:45 S&P Global PMI data. Jerome Powell speaking at 12:35. Micron reports earnings after the close. Might be a good stock to look at on Wednesday. And then upcoming for the rest of the week, GDP data, durable goods on Thursday morning, and then PCE data on Friday morning. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Wednesday. Thanks again. Bye.